Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse Unleashed, Part 2. Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse Unleashed, Part 2. Our scripture text is Revelation chapter 6, verse 1 through 8, which read as thus. And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard as it were the noise of thunder, one of the four beasts saying, Come and see. And I saw and behold a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him. And he went forth conquering and to conquer. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, Come and see. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, Come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. And when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, Come and see. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him, and power was given unto them over the full part of the earth to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beast of the earth. Selah. Yah's timing regarding prophetic events that occur with the opening of the four seals in Revelation chapter 6, verse 1 through 8, are revealed and activated at the time when Israelites leave America/Babylon in the second Exodus. When Hebrews prepared to leave Babylon, America, to return to our land of Israel, this will set in motion the series of events of judgment on this Babylon, America, that will be unleashed by the four horsemen of the apocalypse as described in Revelation chapter 6, verse 1 through 8, when the four seals of judgment are unleashed upon Babylon, America, and the world. The first seal is open, and there appears a rider on a white horse that is described in verses 1 through 2 again, as stated, and I saw the Lamb open one of the seals, and I heard, as it were, the noise of thunder, one of the four beasts saying, Come and see. And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. The white horse, as well as the other horses that are described in verses 2 through 8 of Revelation 6, are identified as the four spirits of the heavens in Zechariah chapter 6, verse 1 through 5, as stated. Quote, Zechariah chapter 6, verse 1 through 5, quote, And I turned and lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, there came 4 chariots out from between 2 mountains, and the mountains were mountains of brass. In the first chariot were red horses, in the second chariot black horses, and in the third chariot white horses, and in the fourth chariot grizzled and bay horses. Then I answered and said unto the angel that talked with me, What are these, my master? And the angel answered and said unto me, These are the 4 spirits of the heavens, which go forth from standing before the throne of Yah of all the earth. So in Revelation chapter 6, verse 2 through 4, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse are spirit entities dispatched by Yah upon Babylon, America, and the world for their enslavement and oppression to the Israelite people, as had been foretold by Master Yeshua in Luke chapter 21, verse 24, quote, and they, that is the Israelites, shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. The appearance historically of these four spirits, described as horses, Zechariah 6, are revealed to the prophet Zechariah at a time when ancient Israelites had left captivity in ancient Babylon, Iraq, around 536 BC, and were attempting to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem that had been destroyed 70 years previously by the Babylonians. So this historical precedence in Zechariah's time gives clarity to the meaning of the four horsemen of the apocalypse revealed in Revelation chapter 6, verse 1 through 8, as referring to a future time when Yah judges Babylon, America, and the world, when the children of Israel leave America to rebuild a third temple in Jerusalem, which is described in Revelation chapter 11, verse 1, as stated in the Aramaic Peshitta text, which states, quote, "And there was given to me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood saying, Arise and anoint the temple of Elohim and the altar and those who worship therein." In the King James Version, it states of chapter 11, verse 1 of Revelation, quote, "And there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood saying, Rise and measure the temple of Elohim and the altar and them that worship therein." So as it was in Zechariah's time, that the four spirits were dispatched by Yah at a time when the returning Israelites from ancient Babylonian captivity were rebuilding the temple in Jerusalem, so too there will be four horsemen of the apocalypse in Revelation 6 that will be unleashed at the time of our return to our homeland in the land of Israel to rebuild a third temple in Jerusalem. Notice the connection of the appearance of the horsemen in chapter 1, verse 7, and also verse 17 of Zechariah, at a time when the returning Israelites from Babylon are rebuilding the third temple in Jerusalem, as stated, quote, verses 7 through 17 of chapter 1 of Zechariah. Upon the 24th day of the 11th month, which is the month Sibat, in the second year of Darius came the word of Yah unto Zechariah, the son of Berechiah, the son of Iddo the prophet, saying, I saw by night, and behold, a man riding upon a red horse. And he stood among the myrtle trees that were in the bottom, and behind him were their red horses, speckled and white. Then I said, Oh, my master, what are these? And the angel that talked with me said unto me, I will show thee what these be. And the man that stood among the myrtle trees answered and said, These are they whom Yah have sent to walk to and fro through the earth. And they answered the angel of Yah that stood among the myrtle trees and said, We have walked to and fro through the earth, and behold, all the earth sitteth still and is at rest. Then the angel of Yah answered and said, O Yah of hosts, how long wilt thou not have mercy on Jerusalem and on the cities of Judah, against which thou hast had indignation these 70 years? And Yah answered the angel that talked with me with good words and comfortable words. So the angel that communed with me said unto me, Cry thou, saying, Thus saith Yah of hosts, I am jealous for Jerusalem and for Zion with a great jealousy, and I am very sore displeased with the heathen that are at ease. For I was but a little displeased, and they helped forward the affliction. Therefore, thus saith Yah, I am returned to Jerusalem with mercies. My house shall be built in it, saith Yah of hosts, and a line shall be stretched forth upon Jerusalem. Cry, yet saying, thus saith Yah of hosts, my cities through prosperity shall yet be spread abroad, and Yah shall yet comfort Zion, and shall yet choose Jerusalem. Hallelujah. Zechariah chapter 1, verses 7 through 17. As shown in Zechariah chapter 1 of Zechariah regarding the appearance of the horsemen, it happens when Israelites return from Babylon to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. So as we review the unsealing of the four seals in Revelation chapter 6, verse 1 through 8, where the horsemen of the apocalypse are revealed and activated, it stands to reason that these four spirits are unleashed against America and the world because of the nations of the world despising and oppressing returning Israelites from rebuilding the temple in Jerusalem in the latter days, as described in Revelation chapter 11, verse 1 through 2, as stated, quote, "And there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the man and the angel stood saying, Rise and measure the temple of Elohim and the altar and them that worship therein. But the court which is without the temple leave out and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread underfoot 42 months." Notice in verse 2, it states the Gentile nations will overrun the third temple that we, the returning Israelites, will one day build in Jerusalem, which happens after we return from Babylon, America. In Zechariah, the horsemen appear to stop the Gentiles from overturning the rebuilt temple in Jerusalem in Zechariah's time. But in Revelation, the horsemen appear to punish the nations who overrun the temple for 42 months or 3.5 years. Each of these horsemen of the apocalypse are dispatched to do harm against the nations who are enemies of the Israelite people, as shown in Zechariah chapter 1 and 2, but especially to punish the oppressors of the Nazarene Israelite people and the Gentile believers who are engrafted among them. In this scene of Yah's vengeance on the oppressors of the Nazarene people, as revealed in Revelation 6, by the unleashing of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, that this gave comfort to the Nazarene congregation of the first century, who were not a Roman-based congregation, but were a Zion-based congregation who kept the commandments of Yah and had the true testimony of Yahshua. John was the overseer of the 7 Nazarene congregations in Asia Minor, which is today the nation of Turkey. They were suffering persecution from the Roman government of Emperor Domitian around 95 AD, who required that they worship him and his image or his statue. Also, the synagogue of Satan converts, who were not actual Jews, whom our master Yahshua described as impostors in Revelation 2, verse 9, and Revelation 3, verse 9. They were inciting the Roman government to take away the exemption clause for those of the faith of Nazarene Jews that Rome had for any branch of those of the faith of the Jews to not be required to worship the emperor or his image. Until the time of the Roman Emperor Domitian, in the last decades of the first century, those of the faith of the Nazarene Jews were still recognized by Rome as a sect of the faith of the Jews. But the synagogue of Satan convinced Rome that due to the Nazarenes' faith in Yahshua, they were no longer Jews. They should not be covered by the exemption clause of not being required to worship the emperor or his image. Some aspects of this history is reported and recorded in the writings of the second century author Justin Martyr for further reference. When Rome agreed with the synagogue of Satan and took away the exemption of Nazarene people from being required to partake in emperor worship, this resulted in great persecution and death for those Nazarene who refused emperor worship of Domitian, particularly for the 7 Nazarene congregations that John the Apostle was the overseer of. Even John, as it was reported in the writings of the author Irenaeus from around that time, reported that the Apostle John, who's nearly 100 years old at that time, was put on the harsh prison island of Patmos to die for the severity of conditions on that island, rather than being publicly executed, because it would have looked politically incorrect to have publicly executed such an old and feeble man. So they put him on the island of Patmos to die from hard labor instead. Even today, there is an alliance of the current Zionist synagogue of Satan with the Roman Babylonian-based American government to persecute us who are the descendants of the original Hebrew Nazarene Jews by blood and by faith in Yeshua, who keep the commandments of Yah and have the true testimony of Yeshua. Even now, every law enforcement agency in America has a 1999 report from the FBI entitled Project Megiddo that was supplied to them by the Jewish Anti-Defamation League and the Jewish Southern Poverty Law Center that falsely accuses Hebrew Israelites as being a domestic terrorist group. These facts are documented by the actual document from the FBI that I still have a copy of. Eventually, the FBI took that document off their public site for only law enforcement agencies to see. And I have a copy of their own website that I made a copy of in 1999 that I still have that verify what I'm saying. And also there is a book by Jim Reedon entitled The Snitch Culture. He states the same thing, that the Anti-Defamation League and the Southern Poverty Law Center were those who they actually bragged, he stated, that they were the ones who provided this persecution accusation against Hebrew Israelites in 1999. So in these latter days here in America, we see a semblance of things that are emerging in the US government and the Zionist synagogue of Satan that mirrors events and persecutions that were happening in the time the book of Revelation was being written. Unfortunately, this persecution that we have now as Nazarene Israelite people, scriptures also tell us that this will worsen for us, as Revelation chapter 12, verse 17 states, quote, "And the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of Elohim and have the testimony of Yeshua the Messiah." The first horseman in Revelation 6 is the white horse rider. He represents the first phase of Yah's judgments on our oppressors by the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Again, as stated in Revelation chapter 6, verse 1 through 2. "And I saw the Lamb open one of the seals, and I heard as it were the noise of thunder. One of the 4 beasts saying, 'Come and see.' And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer." The Greek word for conquering, which the white horse rider is said to do, is the Greek word nakal, number 3528 in Strong's Greek dictionary. Nakal means to conquer, to overcome, to prevail, to gain victory. For instance, we get from the word Nakal the word Nike from this Greek word Nakal. The sports shoe Nike means it's a shoe for victory in sports, like Air Jordans, because Michael Jordan won and conquered every NBA championship series that he ever played in. The word Nakal can also mean to prevail or to overcome. This would imply prevailing in a number of situations other than just militarily. For instance, in the book of 1 Kings, chapter 22, verse 19 through 23, is the account of a spirit that is commissioned by Yah to overcome King Ahab with deception, to cause him to fall from power and die, as stated in 1 Kings chapter 22, verse 19 through 23. And he said, hear thou therefore the word of Yah. I saw Yah sitting on his throne, and all the host of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left. And Yah said, who shall persuade Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And said one on this matter, and another said on that matter. And there came forth a spirit and stood before Yah and said, I will persuade him. And Yah said unto him, wherewith? And he said, I will go forth, and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And he said, thou shalt persuade him and prevail also. Go forth and do so. Now, therefore, behold, Yah hath put a lying spirit in the mouth of all these thy prophets, and Yah hath spoken evil concerning thee. If you'll notice in verse 22 of 1 Kings chapter 22, the word prevail, as used in the phrase, thou shalt persuade him and prevail also, go forth and do so. The word prevail here is the Hebrew word Yaakov, number 3201 in Strong's Hebrew Dictionary. It means to have might, to overcome, have power, prevail. Also, Yaakov is the Hebrew equivalent word for the Greek word Nikol that is used in Revelation 6:2, translated as conquering, as in the phrase in Revelation 6:2 translated as conquering and to conquering. But this phrase could also be translated as to prevail and to prevail. If, and I mean if it is possible that the account of a spirit's prevailing deception to entice King Ahab to enter a war that will bring him down by prevailing against him to believe the lies of false prophets, that he would actually win the war, when in reality Yah had determined to use the war to kill Ahab. In this sense, in verse 22 of 1 Kings 22, Yah tells the spirit that he sent to deceive Ahab, quote, and Yah said to him, wherewith? He said, I will go forth and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of his prophets. And he said, thou shalt persuade him and prevail also. Go forth and do so. The word prevail here in 1 Kings 22:22 means the same thing as the word conquering means in Revelation chapter 6, verse 2. So if this be so, that the unleashing of the horsemen on the white horse means this is a spirit dispatched from Yah to successfully entice and prevail against a leader or leaders to engage in a war that would bring him down or them down, that seek to win a war that is going to be enticed upon them to do as though they can win, when in reality they are being enticed by a spirit to their own destruction to engage in that war. In Zechariah chapter 6, verse 6, the white horses in that verse are described as going into the north country, as stated. The black horses, which are therein, go forth into the north country, and the white go after them, and the gristle go forth toward the south country. In Zechariah chapter 6 through 7, the north country is called the daughter of Babylon. As stated, ho, ho, come forth, flee from the land of the north, saith Yah, for I've spread you abroad as the four winds of the heaven, saith Yah. Deliver thyself, O Zion, that dwelleth with the daughter of Babylon. Ancient Israelites never had to flee from ancient Babylon that was in Iraq. So this land of the north referred to here is referring to a land north of Israel that is called the daughter of Babylon. This is clearly referring to America as the land of the north, which is also the daughter of Babylon. It is interesting that the appearance of the white horse rider is that of a bowman with a bow, carrying or wearing a crown, implying he is our conqueror. And in Zechariah chapter 6, verse 6, the white horse goes into the north country, which is a clear reference to the daughter of Babylon as described in Zechariah chapter 2, verses 6 through 7. And so could it be that this white horse rider that is shown in chapter 6 of Revelation is a spirit sent to deceive America? Something to think about, to engage in a war that they can't win against an enemy that they will not prevail against, but will be convinced by false prophets out of the Christian Zionists who speak lies about prophetic fulfillments that are not focused around the true Israel. This is something that bears watching. It is also interesting that the appearance of the white horse rider is that of a bowman with a bow carrying a crown, implying he's a conqueror. Historically, in John's time, there was a world power east of the Euphrates that Rome was never able to conquer. And this was the Parthian Empire, which is today the nation of Iran. The Parthians, or the Iranians of the ancient times, they were renowned as horsemen, archers in war in John's time. So to the people of the first century AD, this scene here in Revelation chapter 6, verses 1 and 2, the white horse rider with a bow, for people of the first century AD, this would have to them been looking like something referring to the Parthians, who were the Iranians of that time. Rome tried many times to conquer Iran of that time, but it was always defeated. Now, currently, America, in alliance with the Zionist synagogue of Satan of State of Israel, are likewise seeking to conquer Iran. And war could break out at any moment, right now. But at this moment, these are only wars and rumors of wars, and the white horse rider has not yet been unleashed. As Yeshua said, you will hear wars and rumors of war, but the end is not yet. However, eventually there will be a war with Iran that will bring America down, as stated in Isaiah chapter 13, verse 1, and chapter 7, and verse 17 through 19, as stated in Isaiah. The burden of Babylon, which Isaiah the son of Amos saw. Behold, I stir up the Medes against him, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces. And they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children, and Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when Yah overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. The Medes is another ancient name for Iran. The ancient Iranians did conquer ancient Babylon, but they did not destroy it, but they occupied it. But in Isaiah chapter 13, verse 7 through 19 describes the Iranians as being part of an army that will destroy this Babylon America one day, to be destroyed like Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed. Because Yah promises that every nation that took Israelites captives will be judged, as stated in Jeremiah 30, verse 10 through 11. Therefore fear thou not, O my servant Jacob, saith Yah. Neither be dismayed, O Israel, for lo, I will save thee from afar, and thy seed from the land of their captivity. And Jacob shall return, and shall be in rest, and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. For I am with thee, saith Yah, to save thee, though I make a full end of all nations, whither I have scattered thee. Yet will I not make a full end of thee, but I will correct thee in measure, and will not leave thee altogether unpunished. So in conclusion, the white horse rider is unleashed upon America and its allies when they overrun the third temple that will be rebuilt by the Israelites when we return from Babylon, America. As stated in Daniel chapter 11, verse 44, it states, but tidings out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him. Therefore he shall go forth with great fury to destroy, and utterly to make away many. These tidings from the east and the north that will trouble America and its allies may likely be Iran, Russia, China, and North Korea, that shall be part of a coalition that will destroy this country of America. And it will be the influence of the white horse rider who will prevail to entice these nations into a coming world war that will ultimately bring down with destruction this Babylon, United States of America.